Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday.
Welcome to Happy Monday. On today's show, Kirk talks about hootin' and hollerin', why one man's joy made him rage inside, and the lessons he learned from the whole thing. And now, Kirk Sheppard.
Happy Monday. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here. My name is Kirk Sheppard. I'm a licensed mental health therapist in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And every week I bring you some thoughts on my weekly blog over at the Substack called kirksheppard.substack.com. It's called Happy Monday. And then I've lately been just kind of expanding on my thoughts from the blog into the podcast form so that you have an audio/video version if that's your preference. So that's what we do. That's what we hang out and talk about is mental health, self-improvement, gratitude, productivity, affirmation kind of stuff. I also have written 3 books, Jesus and Me, The Search Party, and Soul Audit. And if you're interested in buying any of those, I would love for you to do that at kirksheppard.com, where I can autograph and ship it out to you. But also you can get them on Amazon or wherever you get your books. Now, if you're interested in Jesus and Me, hang on a couple days. I think I'll be announcing a sale. I had some returns from the book signing I had at a bookstore. They ordered too many. They shipped them back. And when that happens, I eat the cost of that and they get shipped back to me. And so I'm going to have more books than I know what to do with here in a minute. And so I'll be probably reducing the price and trying to get rid of those. So if you're interested in Jesus and Me, don't buy it just yet. But I'll let you know on the website at kirksheppard.com and on my social media, Facebook, Instagram, how you can get that and what price you can pay. Okay, today we're talking about hooping and hollering. And it's going to be a vulnerable, uncomfortable conversation a little bit for me. Last Tuesday, I went to Kings Island on my 3-hour gap. I had a break in my schedule and thought, this is good. I can go get lunch. I have a meal plan. It's free. I'm trying to watch my budget. That'll be great. I've already paid for it, so it's free. I will go watch the country show, maybe even twice. And they had asked, one of the performers in the show had reached out and asked about my books. And so I offered to bring a copy of each for them to have in the green room to share. And if they wanted more, to let me know and I'd bring them more. So I had books with me to hand to them. Got my chicken shack, got my chicken tenders, found my spot in the Fest House. There was no barbecue sauce, but I didn't let it bother me. I was in a good mood. I enjoyed the buffalo sauce and I enjoyed the ketchup for the fries and a very thick piece of Texas toast. It was a good meal. Chicken tenders were juicy that day. Show was about to start. Things were looking good, and all of a sudden I hear this cyclone of a human being coming right towards me. And he sat down at the table next to me, and he did not stop talking from the minute he sat down till the end of that show. Not only was he talking about the show and asking everybody around him if they'd seen it and bragging about knowing the Dolly Parton song was in it and also knowing the performers and they were his friends, and he just would not stop talking. And it wasn't the kind of friendly chatter that people are engaging with. It was an unawareness that anybody around him didn't care about what he was saying and frankly didn't want to engage with that level of enthusiasm. After the show was over, he interrupted me while I was trying to give the books to the performers, take about 32 different selfies. It was very obnoxious and it was infuriating. And I have a very low tolerance sometimes for things like that. And I felt myself getting ragefully angry inside. And what I realized was that this was about something that I should just let go of. So when I walked out of the park with my icy in hand, I decided that it would be a good thing to explore in the blog and to write about. And so I did. I wrote about it, I journaled about it, and then I turned it into a blog post for today called Hoop and Holler, The Joy That Irritated Me. And what I learned were 3 things that I wrote about today. And those were, number 1, someone else's joy doesn't have to match my mood. Right? It doesn't have to be my joy just because you have joy. Also, my irritation says a lot more about me than it does him. And finally, joy doesn't need permission, right? So what I did was some self-reflection. That my level of irritation and anger and hostility towards this joyous, harmless, happy human being was inappropriate at best. What I did was I noticed it, right? I paid attention to it. I didn't just dismiss it or blame. I owned what I noticed. I noticed that I was in the wrong and I owned it and I wanted to understand why. And then I allowed myself to feel it. And I allowed myself to process it, and I allowed myself to parse it out and talk about it and write about it and share it with you. So whenever you are having a moment, or whenever you've made a mistake, whenever you have are experiencing an emotion, I think this is a great 3-step process to help us through it. Notice, own it, allow it. Because once we do that, once we are, first of all, being aware of ourselves, that increases our emotional intelligence right there. We learn who we are, and we are able to notice any problem areas. And if there are any problem areas, we can then own them. We can say, hey, that's an issue for me. I need to work on that. And then we allow ourselves the grace to say, I'm human. We allow ourselves the process by which we need to change. We allow the change to happen. Notice, own, allow. 3-step process for behavior change that you may not have heard of before that I think is really powerful. I learned a lot from that experience. I am not saying that this very happy man's lack of boundaries or lack of social awareness is completely excusable, because I don't think it is. I think that while I appreciate enthusiasm, interrupting me while I was talking to the performers was not okay. Interrupting the show with his excited, gleeful screams and continued talking throughout the performance, not okay. But in the grand scheme of things, did it really hurt me? No. I watched the second show, and I was only one of 50 people in the Fest House, and it was a lovely time. And I'm not sure which one the performers like better, the big, enthusiastic crowd with people like him in it, or the quiet, respectful, smaller crowd like the one I saw. Either way, I hope they continue on their last couple weeks there at that show with a great time, a safe time, a cool time. And I hope that you learned something today from my Happy Monday broadcast.
Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, hosted by Kirk Sheppard, is for entertainment and educational purposes only. While Kirk Sheppard is a licensed therapist, none of the information presented on this podcast should be interpreted or thought of as clinical advice. If you're in need of mental health treatment, go to psychologytoday.com to find a therapist in your area. For more information on Kirk Sheppard, his books, and more, go to kirksheppard.com.